Certain news stories will upset you. Certain news stories will shock you. Certain news stories will turn your stomach. MSNBC aired a segment, a proof of life photo of President Trump. Do you know why they aired this segment? Do you know what just happened to President Trump? Do you know why they aired this segment and why no one's talking about it, and they should be? My friends, this is a story that no one should miss. The facts, the details, the events that led up to this, astounding, shocking, sickening, disgusting. And there was no way that I was going to let it go unnoticed. And that's the story I'll bring you in 1 minute.
Trump did nothing today. He wasn't publicly seen anywhere today, perhaps because his 79-year-old swollen ankles are bothering him, or maybe he just couldn't really walk or stand up very long today, something like that. Who knows? We don't know.
That riveting coverage from MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell, age 73 years old. Coming from a man reading off a teleprompter, criticizing a man who's done more for this nation than any president in modern day history. But you see, that's not the story, nor the end of the segment. They took it to a whole different level of depravity, but why? Why now? It's actually not so hard to follow. See, there's things happening that they simply don't agree with. Some would argue that they don't want progress in the Great Republic of the United States of America. They want it to remain what it was. A country moving backwards. A country moving into the thralls of globalism. This Trump-Putin summit infuriates them. Why? Why would a nation, why would an intelligence community, why would a order want us to remain in war? And why now is the mainstream mockingbird media propagating disgusting storylines that have no basis in reality whatsoever when they didn't do the same for the prior president? Because something larger is happening. They're losing all their footing. They're losing all their control, their ability to manipulate fact. And they're panicking. Gabbard Bard sharing intel on Russia-Ukraine talks with Five Eyes partner, a story lost by many news sources. Why would the United States, according to CBS, and remember the amount of misinformation right now, is at an all-time high. And why? Because they want our partners. They want Russia to believe that we are working against everyone to cause dissension, anger, and to continue to propagate war. Who is trying to diffuse that? President Trump. Who is trying to diffuse him? The mainstream media. Because the intelligence arm is no longer as powerful as it used to be. But what hasn't been diffused? Because I view the intelligence community and the mainstream media as one. So if you're getting rid of the intelligence community, which I will show you here, who remains? The mainstream media. So let's move forward. Five Eyes allegedly barred. We are barred from sharing any intelligence with our Five Eyes partners. CBS News has learned, of course, by anonymous sources, that Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, issued a directive weeks ago to the U.S. intelligence community ordering that all information regarding the Russia-Ukraine peace negotiations not be shared with U.S. allied intelligence partners. Are we sure? Just about as sure as you should be about the Nordstream pipeline saboteur being caught, and I'll get there in a second. None of this should make sense to you, and there's a reason none of it should make sense to you. It's not meant to. It's meant to cause dissension. The memo, dated July 20th and signed by Gavin, directed agencies not to share information with the so-called Five Eyes to post-World War II intelligence alliance, comprising the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Multiple U.S. intelligence officials told CBS News under conditions of anonymity, of course. However, when asked the DNI spokesperson, they stated that our sharing relationship with our allies has never been stronger. So who's telling the truth? How are we to know? Because if you listen to what Lawrence O'Donnell just said, the president is incapacitated, incapable to even go forth in his duties, and it gets worse. So what's happening? Why the fury? Why the fear? And that's what this is fear. Tulsi Gabbard, as we announced earlier this week, cutting the intelligence staff by half because they're losing their footing. They're losing their intel on top of the 281 plus security clearance removals on top of now this story coming up. And I've told my audience, and now I'm going to share it with you, don't believe everything you read. Ukrainian man arrested in Italy over 2022 Nordstream gas pipeline. Suddenly now, in the middle of negotiations to end the war, suddenly the saboteur is caught, who happens to be Ukrainian military. Wow, who would that upset? And what negotiations would that upset? It would upset any negotiations to cease the war between Russia and Ukraine, especially when the saboteur is Ukrainian, being extradited to Germany, and which country has pushed for the war to continue forward more than any other? Germany. There is no such thing as coincidence. But again, just the tip of the iceberg in this story. Yes, that Lawrence O'Donnell segment set me off because it was so glaringly obvious what they are doing now. Because now you even got Orban fired up about the same thing. Days before Russia, Ukraine strikes the oil pipeline again. Everybody seems to be so interested in this war continuing forward. But we're fighting back, aren't we? Because Trump, who's incapacitated, according to Lawrence O'Donnell, somehow is still able to negotiate through this to Viktor Orban. I do not like hearing this. I am very angry about it. Tell Slovakia, you are my great friend. No, he's incapacitated, though. He can't do anything. How would you like to be in his seat, Lawrence? What if you didn't have the teleprompter in front of you? What could you negotiate? I assure you, little to nothing. Be careful. He who casts stones in glass houses. Dangerous, huh? But who are you protecting? Oh, you're pretty easy to see who you're protecting and who HuffPost is protecting, and CNN. HuffPost, breakthrough goes bust. That's what they want to happen. They want this breakthrough between Russia and Ukraine ending the war to go bust. Why are we rooting for war to continue? Should make everyone think a little bit, right? Push forward a little bit further. John Bolton in this saga, either right during the raid, right before the raid, or right after the raid, it's kind of tough to tell here, same date, right around the same time. What does John Bolton post? Russia has not changed its goal. Drag Ukraine into a new Russia empire. Moscow has demanded that Ukraine cede territory it already holds in the remainder of Donetsk, which it has been unable to conquer. Zelensky will never do so. Oh, wait now, John. Are you again pushing for war to continue by diffusing, by making the negotiation futile? Well, that's shocking. You've never done that in the past, have you? Until you received a knock on your door. Not only a knock on your door at your home, but a knock on your door at your office. The same man who said no one's above the law. The same man who criticized President Trump for wanting to hold documents, and he didn't really know how to handle them. Well, we're going to find out if you knew how to handle them and what you had in your possession here shortly now, won't we? As they hit him now, allegedly, with violating certain parts of the Espionage Act. You see, this is much larger than most imagined. Everybody thought this was falsehoods. If you listen to Lawrence O'Donnell, Trump made all this up. It was all fake. Until you saw the hat Trump was wearing yesterday. The man who's so incapable and he has no cognitive ability. But yet he was smart enough to know what hat he was wearing. Did you know what hat he was wearing? Put it in the comments below. What did it say on his hat he was wearing yesterday? That goes to paint in this story. I'm going to continue this story in a moment. Before I do, help Lisa, help me continue to tell the algorithm who's boss. How do you do that? How do you continue to help these channels to grow? It's by subscribing, by checking to assure you're still subscribed, and by making sure your bell is checked to all. That tells the algorithm you care about this news, that it makes a difference. By adding comments, by sharing the video, the algorithm then sees that you appreciate this news. A lot of you say, we promote our news channel that Lisa, Haven, and I created. Costs us a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we do it because that's the news, unfiltered, uncensored, our exclusive content on top of every broadcast we publish everywhere with all commercials and interruptions removed. And a lot of you will say, Justice, Lisa, we can't afford to. And that's okay, we understand. We'd love you to be there if you can. Trust me, that is a reason we created that platform. And if you do have the means to get there, we need you there today. RestrictedRepublic.com. You see the address. But for those of you that don't have the means, assuring you're subscribed, sharing our videos, putting comments, telling others, making sure your bell is checked to all is equally as helpful to assure we can continue to bring you the news in the black and white format we work day and night to provide you. Because nobody else gives you this news in this fashion anymore. Taking very large, difficult, complex concepts and boiling them down into simple, stone cold, hard facts. That's what we do at Restricted Republic. I'd love you to subscribe to our other channel. We'll put a link just above, which is mine. I'd love to have you there today. That channel is blowing up, thankfully, because I asked the same thing over there I just asked of you. I'd love you to subscribe today. But now let's get back to this story. Bolton's office also raided. President Trump speaking here.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife.
See his hat? I want to see who was right in the comments. We'll check it. Trump was right about everything. So far, it's proving to be true, isn't it? Every storyline he talked about, every conspiracy he brought up, proving to be fact, except far deeper than most are able to consume. How can it? And I'm going to show you. Actually, as a matter of fact, this was one of the best articles. I wasn't going to cover it today because it is a little bit in depth, but I'm going to take a 30,000-foot view of it because it really puts into perspective when Lawrence O'Donnell sits out there and says the man is tired and broken. He's feeble. He can't even hold up anymore. He had jet lag. He had to take 1 day off, allegedly, which, by the way, he didn't take the day off. He didn't. Even more infuriating. And then you take it to what he took it to. In the next segment of that video, I'll play at the very end here, so hang with me. This man has been fighting this. This came out from James Howard Kunstler. The problem with the future is it is both unpredictable and inescapable. What is he referring to there? Everyone, extricate yourself from the mud wallow of cynicism. Naysayers arise and open your eyes. And I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks now. Sleepwalkers and black pillars, smell the coffee and wake up. Sob sisters, dry your tears. We are marching into a promised land of accountability after all, and we are. What does he mean by that? Grand juries are a sign. Now, some will say grand juries aren't enough. Well, then, if you didn't think grand juries are enough, suddenly John Bolton's home gets raided. Now you have another step of progress, don't you? And then you have Andrew Bailey get assigned. That's a major move. They're reinforcing. Tulsi Gabbard is stripping clearances away as quick as she can, reinforcing the intelligence community, removing half the staff, pulling the rug out from underneath the establishment, the Beltway Bandits. Whistleblowers are rising up, grand juries are being formed, investigations are beginning, and now raids begin. Progress to what you've been asking for. But imagine what Trump and the administration is facing. It's hard to put it into perspective. So I'll help you. The origin and execution of Russiagate, potentially involving Obama, ex-VP Joe Biden, Brennan, Comey, Clapper, Rice, McCord, Yates, Schiff, Warner, Rosenstein, Strzok, Orr, Carlin, Soma, Haspel, to name a few. And you have to collect all the intelligence on this to see if you have legitimate cases against any of these or not. But everybody wanted it done right away. Oh, that's just a portion. So let me push it forward because this man is so tired he can't do anything, right? Another batch might be the judges in the FISA courts. Boasberg, to be in specific. What about what happened with FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith? Are we supposed to just let that go aside too? Or are we supposed to be looking into that? I assure you they are. But again, just a portion. What about, again, Schiff, Eric Jarmella, Atkinson, Vidman, McCord, Eisen, Piet, Fiona Hill. And now what we found out about Bill Barr working against President Trump, you have to deal with this also. On top of everything else, on top of the Russia, on top of our borders, on top of immigration, on top of drug trade. But President Trump is feeble and tired, Lawrence O'Donnell. Not done. What about Miley, Christopher Wray, Stephen D'Antonio, which you have to reinforce against also. And you wonder why those security clearances are coming off. The intelligence community is being downstacked. What were these people pushing for? This is how deep it goes, and people don't realize how deep it goes. What about Monaco? And Lawrence O'Donnell wants to sit up there and make the American people think that Trump is feeble. Of course he does. Because the other side of this equation is that he's not feeble. And that the system is picking up steam. That the administration is now rolling forward and the pace is accelerating. And soon they'll figure out exactly all the co-conspirators. And the grand juries will start resulting in indictments. Oh, then the landscape changes, doesn't it? On top of the big batch of 51 former intelligence officials that they had to worry about also, who verified that Hunter's Biden laptop was Russian information operation. You remember that, don't you? And we haven't touched Eisen, Norm Eisen, Mary McCord, Ben Witz, Mark Elias. Nobody's even mentioned Merrick Garland yet. Fannie Willis, Nathan Wade, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. They're not doing anything in the administration. They're just sitting back in their hands. How would you like to deal with all this? Maybe you need a couple hours to maybe sleep in a little bit. How much did Biden sleep in? That's how deep-seated this was. And why you're seeing articles come out. But it's not only there. No, it's in almost every single department of government. Do you see what Hexas has to do? Just yesterday, fires Defense Intelligence Agency chief for leaking out information on our strikes. It is in every corner, in every hallway, in every door they're opening. They are finding more of this intelligence assets working against the administration. But they're finding them. So everybody needs to take a deep breath. Rocket forward. Your financial system being held hostage by one man, and Trump's dealing with that also, isn't he? But suddenly now that man changing course, but Trump is feeble. He can't deal with anything. He can't handle the job. His ankles are weak, didn't you say, Lawrence O'Donnell? But now suddenly we're hearing interest rates are coming. Cuts are coming, sorry. But the Fed chairman says it has nothing to do with Trump. Okay. Sure it doesn't.
To do, we have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor.
While all along pushing, securing our borders, dealing with illegal immigration, and being successful at it. Oh, but this man was tired. Oh, this is the same day as the prior clip. Oh, he's tired, he's feeble, he can't hold up. Trump was right about everything. Lawrence O'Donnell. National Guard mobilizing in 19 states amid immigration and crime crackdown, but the administration's tired, it's feeble. I know. A lot of intel, right? The man who just got a 94% drop on illegal immigration. It's not past his first year yet. Yeah, man, he's horrible. I don't know how he's sitting up. I don't even know how he can get in front of a microphone. I'm surprised they're not wheeling him out in a wheelchair. Next thing you're going to tell me is they need a proof of life photo to prove that he's actually still alive. Oh, they actually do that. Don't worry, you're not going to have to believe me, because the left is so desperate that they're aiming to paint Trump as enfeebled now, because that's all they have left. And that tells you one thing. They have fear, because the success of this administration is rolling forward so quickly that they have no more storylines left to cover. Because the likes of Lawrence O'Donnell, who can't get a single story right. Lawrence O'Donnell, Epstein scandal poses a serious threat to Trump's power over his base. Really? Oh, well, Trump was guilty, huh? No, not really. Ghislaine Maxwell comes out. Her testimony comes out. No, Trump was never in any appropriate setting. Sorry, Lawrence, wrong again. But how could you possibly stoop lower? How could you possibly prove my point more than this president has you all on your heels, running as quickly away as you can, because the machine is rolling forward now. And the more intelligence assets to come out from the Beltway Bandits, and the more the good guys get the intelligence in, and the whistleblowers feel safe and protected, the more intelligence that floods in, and the faster the machine rolls. And the mainstream media knows this. So they're going to brew up any story they can to defuse this man. So sick and disturbed are they that they go to this length. Listen in here for 1 minute.
At 6:32 p.m. today, the White House released this proof of life photograph that appears to be Donald Trump standing deep in the background there, doing absolutely nothing, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio swears in the new ambassador.
You thought I was making it up, huh? I know a lot of you, based on that title, probably thought we were making that up, didn't you? That MSNBC just released a proof of life photo of President Trump. Allegedly standing in the background doing nothing is a proof of life photo of President Trump. We have crossed past desperation into a sickening realm, a disgusting, delusional realm of where facts no longer play any part in journalism. This is an assault. It always has been an assault. It always will be an assault. But now, your eyes have been opened to it. We've never stood down against the assault, ever. And every time I see an example of it, I will be the first one here, screaming from the rooftops to show you how desperate they're becoming. Because these are some of the most important news stories. Because to me, it has always been the mental game of how they maneuver against the American people, we the people, that are the most significant factors in our go-forward political landscape. And Lawrence O'Donnell, how dare you? That is shameful. Shameful on a national stage, what you just did. When this man, not this man, but the man on your screen, has shown this country more progress, more respect than any president in modern history. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. God bless President Trump. And God bless each and every one of you. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.